morning, I stopped over to his house, and he says, "Well, I'm glad you stopped by because there's a couple of things I wanna pass along to you."
Okay.
Well, that kind of a thing where somebody is passing along something to you,
Sure, makes you
that
nervous.
well, it gives you a sinking feeling,
Mm-hmm.
because the inevitable. It's inevitable.
Sure.
I mean, the guy could live for another 10 years for all I know.
Mm-hmm.
But when somebody says, "I'm passing this on to you as as a part of the family legacy or whatever,"
Sure.
it's just like, well, he says you're my only surviving son because
Yeah.
I had two brothers,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm the only son left. And that's another thing. My dad had 7 children,
Mm.
and there's only 4 of us left. So
That's tough.
he's outlived 3 of his children.
That is tough there.
So I went to visit him, and we were sitting there chit chatting along, and he says, "Well, there's a couple of things I want to give you." He says, "First of all," and you might laugh at this, but there's a story behind it. So he says, "Out in the garage, there's an anvil." Now you know what
Yeah.
you know what an anvil is, right?
Yeah, sure. The metal thing.
So
The metal thing you bang
yeah,
out.
yeah, it's a big
horseshoes or
chunk. It's a big chunk of metal. Yeah, correct. The horseshoes and things, right?
Right.
So he proceeds to tell me the story about this anvil.
Okay.
So apparently his father and his father's father, my dad's grandfather, they lived in southern Kentucky, way down in coal country. Remember our friend down there in Whitesburg, Kentucky?
Greg Napier.
Greg Napier. Well, my dad came from down in that area. I mean,
Okay.
It's way down South Kentucky. It's
Right.
coal country down there.
Okay.
Down in Hazard, Kentucky, Dukes of Hazard and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, being that they were farmers and they so on and so forth, they raised their own cattle. They plowed their own fields, much like the Amish do today with the horse-drawn plows and things like that. They didn't have the modern implements that they have today with tractors and stuff like that. So they kind of all did everything by hand, including making their own fence posts and sharpening their own plow blades and banging out their own horseshoes and things like that.
Right.
So my dad tells me his dad and his grandfather went to some local farmer's place. I guess he was having like an estate sale or an auction or selling off his farm or something like that.
Okay.
And so they went over there to see what he had for sale. And one of the things he had was this anvil. And my dad's grandfather asked his son, my father's dad, "You have any money on you?" "I don't have any money on me." He says, "I'd like to buy that anvil. You got 50 cents.
Okay. 50 cents.
50 cents. So he goes, "Yeah, I got a couple of dollars on me." So he bought this anvil for 50 cents. This was probably like I'm going to guess it was like 1935 or something like that, 1940 maybe.
Okay.
And so it became sort of a shared property, even though my dad's father, my grandfather, purchased it, made the purchase. His father took it to his farm, and it says, if you need to use it or whatever, come on over and, use it.
Sure.
So my grandparents picked up and moved to central Indiana, north central Indiana. And when they went to Indiana, my grandfather took the anvil with him.
Okay.
So he had that in his workshop forever. My grandfather had owned another farm. It was like an 80-acre farm.
Sure.
And so he's a very crafty guy. This guy could, fix anything, put anything together, So he had this anvil in his shop forever and a day. I remember seeing it as a kid. So my grandfather told my dad, if something happens to me, I want you to take this anvil.
Right.
So my dad took it after my grandfather passed away in 96.
Okay.
So here it is, 2025, Now I have the anvil.
You have that.
I now have the family anvil.
That's funny.
So what I decided to do with it is I'm going to clean it all up, get all the rust off it, clean it all up. I'm going to paint it, probably put maybe some red accents on it or something.
Okay.
And I'm going to put it here in the CMS studio by the fireplace.
Nice.
Kind of like a little showpiece, you know
right,
what I mean?
Sure.
So that's what I'm going to do with the family anvil.
You put it on your desk somewhere with a hammer, so every once in a while when people are acting up, you just start banging on it. King, 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 king.
That thing weighs like 70 pounds.
That's what I'm saying. That would be metal.
Yeah. Well, what's more metal than having an anvil? In fact, there's a band called Anvil.
Right.
And their logo is an anvil. So I have in my possession the Neeley anvil. That's very metal.
That's awesome.